I finally played Minecraft's most realistic modpack. After tons of comments recommending me to check it out, I decided to give it a solid look.
There's so much copper. It keeps going.
After all, we are talking about TerraFirmaCraft, a mod completely overhauling Minecraft into a proper realistic survival game featuring cave-ins, simulated seasons, or even stuff like realistic metalworking or leather processing. Apart from that, TFC has been a huge inspiration for Vintage Story, one of my favorite games of all time. I wanted to see how similar TFC is to Vintage Story, how fun is it in general, and if I can get any meaningful progress done without any external guides or tutorials. So let's see how it all went down for me in TerraFirmaCraft modpack. So let's start off in a brand new Minecraft world. Shaders are on, everything looks really nice, and I have a basic understanding of what to do first. Wrestling a frog wasn't on my list, but it happened anyway, and it did net me my first form of food. Next on my list was making actual tools, since in TFC you cannot chop down a tree without them, and those are made from the stones that you just pick up from the ground. All you have to do is just snap them into shape and voila, we have ourselves a stone knife head. I repeat this process to get an axe head as well, and soon after a spear head, as my first official form of defense. And I knew how to nab stones thanks to the amazing in-game book guide. Even though it did miss some of the PNGs and I had to wiki them, it did come in incredibly useful. But now all I had to do was just find some sticks and finish up my caveman equipment in the crafting grid. I did underestimate, however, that trees in TFC are pretty... it actually takes forever. And that was a mild one. But now, having wood and sticks in my inventory, and given the fact that it was already getting dark, I could start looking into making fire. Connect 2 sticks for a fire starter, then drop some wood and sticks on the ground, ignite, and easily enough we are done. And officially my first night was mostly spent cooking and reading the guidebook. And by the next day I already had my first opinions formed about TFC.
The mechanics are really similar to Vintage Story. Like everything kind of comes naturally currently.
Then I realized that there are different types of water in the game. Seawater hurts to drink, water doesn't.
Okay, that works. This is not seawater anymore. This is cave water. I can drink that.
And by the way, the whole thirst thing is not in Vintage Story at all, so that is something new and interesting.
All those little bits and pieces of metals are actually so much more visible here. They actually have everything from Vintage Story. It's like I'm playing the same game, just on a different engine. You can get straw from grass. Any grass? Ooh, okay, I get it. It's literally just the same mechanic, just way faster. Really? Mini cow? But I almost myself.
Getting scared by a baby cow wasn't on my to-do list, but finding a spot for my base was, so I decided to settle down in the marshes. A lot of drinkable water, and an almost infinite amount of mud. It will be useful for making bricks, or at least that's what I thought. But let's leave the disappointment for later.
Okay, so apparently I can make mud bricks from straw and mud, and then I have to just let them dry. And they're gonna turn into, I guess, a block. I'm gonna be able to craft a block from them. This is what I'm gonna build my first house with, I think.
So I kept digging, and digging, and digging. Leaving formed bricks in the sun, I was so hopeful. Am I gonna really have a base made of actual bricks by day 3? Not really. Turns out putting bricks in a 2x2 is not enough.
Wait, can I not actually craft bricks? Brick blocks?
You actually need mortar to make the block, which means that pretty much all of my bricks are kind of useless. But at least I had some clay that I picked up earlier, so I decided to interact with this clay forming system. Similarly to Vintage Story, all clay crafts have to be fired in a pit kiln. System is exactly the same. Dig out a 1x1 hole, put the thing inside, cover it with straw and some logs, and put it on fire. After a couple minutes of baking, the clay craft turns into an actual usable item. And in the same way, I made some tool molds, which are necessary if I want to make tools from metal. We heat up the metal, pour it into the mold, and we have a tool from metal. Simple, easy, and simple. I started exploring terrains around my home, mostly in search of said metals. If I could somehow find tin and copper at the same time, I could technically make bronze.
Yeah, I found some native copper. Actually, that's huge.
Wherever I found copper on the surface, I was marking the location on the map. After all, similarly to Vintage Story, copper on the surface means copper below. But for now, the bits of copper on the surface will suffice to make the first pickaxe, so I focused mostly on them.
Okay, so in this vessel we have 400 MBs of copper.
I put the copper inside of the vessel, and the vessel itself in the fire pit. This is required to melt the early metal. And now both my molds and my copper are slowly baking to make my first pickaxe.
Okay, let's see. Okay, so this and saw. And hopefully that's gonna be good enough. Yep, okay, so I do have my first copper pickaxe finally.
But I also made a copper saw, which I knew is necessary to make first planks. And believe it or not, they are pretty important. So from logs I made lumber, and from lumber planks, and from planks my first workbench.
Doesn't look great, honestly, the color, but I am actually finally able to do stuff.
And stuff I did. Or at least a barrel and a bucket. I made them still hoping for that mortar, but for that I needed lime and I needed sand. Sand is not a problem, but I had no idea where to find limestone. So I went out for a little adventure. I strolled through forests, found some tin.
Oh, more deposits of tin.
I even found some salt for food preservation, yet I was still unable to find any traces of limestone.
Okay, let's go this way.
I did, however, find something slightly more interesting.
We've got gold and silver? Really?
A beach absolutely plentiful in resources, with copper, gold and silver absolutely scattered everywhere.
Very rich in resources. I don't know if this is just normal for this mod pack or if I got like uber lucky, you know, but like I don't know if I just found the biggest copper deposit ever, but it's just everywhere. It's just lying here just to be picked up by my greedy hands. There's so much gold.
I decided to pick up whatever I could and just go back. I found 3 resources more appealing than making mortar.
Whoa. Okay, that looked way scarier when I was running.
On my way back I did a bit of hunting as well.
Actually huge. I thought it was gonna be way harder to kill them for some reason. But he's actually kind of fighting back. Okay.
I came back safe and sound, with pockets filled with copper and tin. Good haul, even though it wasn't what I was looking for in the first place. And after all of this, I finally got to building a house. I gave up on mud bricks, but I still had lots and lots of planks. It did take several days and more than a couple dinner breaks, but I did slowly get there.
Okay, I think the roof is kind of ready, right?
Sure, it's nothing special, but with the limited resources I had, I think it turned out pretty okay. But hold on. Did you notice anything unusual?
Okay, I think the roof is kind of ready, right?
Yeah, so I have bronze tools now. If you smelt around 90% of copper with 10% tin, you can make one of the most primitive alloys in the game.
Let's do it. Okay. Okay, nice. Let's make the tools.
Did the bronze tools fix the horrendous tree cutting times? Not really, but it feels good to have them anyway. I did make some chests though, so moving all my outside items inside was just a formality. No, I didn't really sort them, but at least now I have a place to keep them safe. And then my next goal was to make a primitive anvil. Apparently all you have to do is just extract one raw stone block.
Oh, it's exactly the same as in Vintage Story. You just break all the blocks around, and then I'm gonna extract one of the blocks.
But for it to work, it had to be a very specific kind of rock. So as per usual, I set off on an adventure to look for it. So I checked every stone, every hole, and every boulder I could find. But then I remember about the canyon right next to my house, so I of course decided to check it out too.
Because marble won't do. I mean, decorate stuff with marble, probably.
Yeah, I realized I was wildly underprepared for delving into caves yet.
Can I just jump to the water? Is it going to kill me? Oh, nice, it's raining as well. Oh, he's guarding the water. But can I aim it? I hope I can aim it.
Okay. Yeah, it was extremely newbie, but it did pay off in the end.
Really? And the site was like right next to the entrance to the cave that I just got killed in.
Yeah, the rock that I needed was like right next to my house the entire time. Not that I spent like an hour looking for it or anything. So I extracted the rock, brought it back home, and made myself a nice rock anvil. Wow, look at this bad boy. But now that I have an anvil, I needed some ore. I had several locations marked with copper deposits, so all I had to do was just prepare and dig it out.
Okay, I think I'm kind of ready to go for the cave.
During my travel to the deposit, I had some thoughts about my current situation.
So I just realized that there are seasons, so I'm kind of fighting against time, kind of like in Vintage Story, and I'm just completely slacking. So I don't think I'm prepared for winter. I have no food. I'm not even growing anything.
And honestly, I was right. I didn't have any animals, and I didn't have any farm. And I realized that the amount of features in TFC was actually slightly overwhelming. I had to focus on so many things at the same time that I completely forgot to do anything for the preparations for winter. After a couple minutes of searching the forest, I finally found a little cave I marked, and then almost immediately started digging down to get to the actual copper ore vein.
Copyright. Copyright?
Yeah, excuse my stupid, it was literally just copper, and in a pretty decent amount as well. I also realized that the cave-ins in the game are pretty fucking scary.
Oh that's reassuring. That was fun. Wait, this I can just dig out, right? Straight up. This? I don't know, dude. I don't know how this works.
Cave-ins or not, I did find the cave with the copper, and there was enough of it to make some decent stuff. All I had to do was just dig it out and survive.
I have the support beams. I don't know how they work though, dude.
I was ready for the cave-ins, but not for this.
What? What? I had a chemical accident?
Yeah, it took me a moment to figure it out, but apparently whenever you break an andesite block, there's a small chance to get andesite powder, which is highly toxic if picked up.
Transfer items. Yep, I'm still suffocating. Please don't do this to me. Okay, at least my body is closer now. Wait, could it be that maybe I picked up an item? Could it be that maybe I picked up an item that is toxic, like some sort of uranium or something? Is that a thing? Because that could be a thing. Because I started getting hit immediately after I picked up my items.
My intelligence strikes fear in the hearts of my enemies. That's why I picked up my items one more time, just to be sure.
Andesite dust, hazardous, poisonous when inhaled. Oh. Okay, that makes sense. There's no gases. I was literally just holding poisonous fucking sand. No. No. No, come on, dude. Okay, transfer items. Please. One. Okay. Whew.
And the next couple days went by pretty fast. I made and fired some ingot molds, got harassed by a pig.
Just permanently. What do you want from me?
Failed miserably at prospecting.
There's like absolutely nothing. No copper, nothing, nowhere.
I mean, seriously, there was no ores anywhere.
Like 4 or 5.
No. And I also realized that throwing hot stuff into water cools it down. I honestly thought it was just a vintage story kind of thing, but I guess even this is in TFC. Later, I made some more bronze ingots. They looked pretty, but they were kind of pointless. I couldn't work them on my primitive anvil, so I decided I needed to go back to the copper mine. Yeah, the one with the poisonous andesite powder. I had an idea how to avoid picking it up. All I had to do was just block all my free inventory slots while still keeping non-stacked copper, and that kind of worked like an inventory filter.
That is actually working.
And that let me go all out in the mine. I picked up all the copper I could. After all, armor was a priority for me. Do not act like a little bitch whenever I hear a skeleton.
Please. If he throws a spear, I'm dead. Oh, okay.
And I still didn't understand support beams and cave-ins.
Oh, dude.
And after coming home, I fired all the copper that I could. I needed as much copper ingots as possible. I needed at least full copper armor and some sort of a sword, I think. Not to mention a copper anvil. Amidst all this chaos though, I did find a minute to spruce up the house. Just a bit. I also found this little detail.
Dude. I didn't know you can do that. That's so sick.
It was a high time to make a charcoal forge. You know, the place where you heat up the ingots so they can be worked on an anvil? Well, to make it, I needed some cobblestone. Thankfully, with the canyon right next to my house, it wasn't an issue. And since I was down there, I decided to pick up some stuff for the quern. Although it might not seem like it, it's also necessary for the smithing stuff. Building the forge itself is pretty easy. I literally don't even have to explain it, like it's really simple. But something I do have to explain is how I got my hands on charcoal. Couple days earlier I made something called a charcoal pit. You just put some wood in a hole, cover it up and light it up with a torch. And if you're lucky and you did it properly, in couple minutes instead of buried wood, you're going to have piles of charcoal that you have to dig up. Why didn't I mention it earlier? Well, it's because I failed. I did it wrong, probably because I did it in a mud, which is affected by gravity, and my charcoal pit only net me like 8. And since I wanted my whole smithy to be outside, I kind of did this.
Just broke my anvil.
So after acquiring the second anvil, and after trying to make charcoal pit for the second time in the wrong place...
That's how this works? Oh shit. Oh damn.
Yeah, I was still hoping that it's going to work, trying to make charcoal in wet mud. I actually made bronze chisel, which is necessary to make smooth blocks, which are necessary to make a quern, which is necessary to make flux, which is necessary for everything else, including a copper anvil, thanks to which I'm gonna be able to make an armor.
Okay, so technically I have everything that is needed to make double ingots and make my anvil. Apart from maybe a sufficient amount of charcoal, which is being made there already. I can see why people were saying that TerraFirmaCraft is very similar to Vintage Story. Those features are exactly the same. It even works the same. Moves the same. It's crazy.
Later I made some tool racks, just for the cozy factor. Of course this also looks and works exactly like in Vintage Story. But now it's time to check up on my charcoal pit.
I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, but the charcoal pits just don't work. They're just like collapse on... I don't know.
So I decided to redo it completely, but this time in actual soil. I put the wood where it's supposed to be, even checked the guidebook just to be sure that I've done everything completely correctly. I covered the wood with dirt, leaving only one small opening for the torch, and then closed it as soon as it caught fire. And honestly, this time it seemed to actually work, especially the smoke coming off of it. That never happened before, and it just felt right.
Okay, nice. Nice, finally. It actually worked this time. That's so good. Oh my god. Why is it so fast? God damn, okay.
Later on I decided to start my farming journey, and by that I mean just a small 5x5, just to test out the system. And unsurprisingly to me, the systems are basically the same as in Vintage Story. Keep up 3 nutrition stats up and your crops will live. Throw some good old fertilizer on top and it's just working. Unfortunately I started kind of late, so I wouldn't get too attached to this farm. I mean, it looks cozy and everything, but it's probably not going to survive the winter, so focusing on my smithy was the only path to progression. I used the fire starter to start the forge, and I was ready to start making double ingots for the copper anvil. And yeah, I also needed tongs, because we don't touch hot metal with bare hands, and I started cooking my ingots. The system was a bit confusing at first, but I did prevail and make my first double ingot. All I had to do was just cook the ingots until they're hot, sprinkle some flax on top, and slam them with hammer. For some reason they don't have a texture, but they work. I also realized the hard way that if you leave ingots cooking for too long, they actually melt through and you lose them.
I just lost one. Wait, what is going on? I'm losing. I lost like 4 ingots already. Of course, this is the perfect moment where my tongs had to break.
Yeah, it was frustrating. But after figuring out how to avoid this, it stopped being a problem. You just have to watch them at all times, non-stop. My pile of copper double ingots was slowly growing, and progress was literally tangible. And forging the last one was an actual relief. I was finally able to make a copper anvil, and there was several perks coming with it.
That was so much work for this.
Mainly finally making armor, but also tools you cannot cast. One of the first things I decided to make was a copper javelin, although smithing was kind of hard to learn.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
But after many tries, I finally somehow managed to do it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Javelin was mainly needed for hunting. I needed skins, feathers, and any kind of wool I could find. I even tried to hunt more aggressive animals.
Well, let's hunt the bear. This is a sentence you don't really hear in Vintage Story. Oh, he's sleeping. I might die. Oh my god, he has a lot of health.
Even though I lost the first round, I did come back with vengeance and with many more spears.
Oh, I missed one. Here's one. Okay, I have to pick them up. Nice.
And after I got the bear low enough, it started running, but not for long.
Nice. I have the items. Is that? Yes, it's large rawhide.
Rest of the bear went into the pot, especially that the next couple days was pretty eventful. I made a special tool to turn animal wool into actual usable strings, especially that the mechanic is really cool.
That is actually super cool. Really? I'm weaving it. I have to physically weave my cloth.
And thanks to weaving the cloth, I was actually able to make my first proper bed after like 60 days.
I can actually sleep.
Apart from that, it took me like 25 hours to actually figure out how to preserve my food, even though the system is exactly the same as in Vintage Story.
Okay, so now it has 6 days, and in here it has 1 month and 5 days. Dude, I wasted so much time. And food.
And since I had a lot of them, I finally started turning skins into actual usable leather. And honestly, this system is also much more interactive than I initially thought.
I have to manually do this. That is so insanely cool.
And after scraping the hides, I put them back in a barrel, and there they turn into leather. You can nap it into any shape you want, so I made some leather armor. Even though I wouldn't be using it for too long, I still wanted to kinda see how it's made. And while we're on the topic of barrels, I used them to finally make some mortar. You know, to finally use those bricks I've made at the start. Yeah, it took me long enough.
I actually have mortar now. I can make bricks, and I actually got so much mortar.
Yeah, I immediately made a small outside smithy, made entirely out of wood, some straw, and some mud bricks. Although don't get attached to the looks, I was changing stuff all the time. And now with the smithy, all I had to do was just get as much copper as possible. But not without mistakes. Oh. The forge became my second home. I was working it tirelessly days and nights. I wanted to have a full copper set to finally delve into the dangers of the canyon next to my house.
This is my first copper knife. Nice.
I was an amazing smith, but my forge design wasn't exactly the most fireproof.
Where's my roof?
Couple days later and it already started snowing, so I knew that I don't have much time. Although I must admit, Minecraft with dynamic seasons is kind of cool. But that's also in vintage. A quick checkup on my crops, they are still alive. But then couple days later they died, so
crops die during winter? Didn't know that. I still have those beets though.
But the rest of my time with the game was spent in the forge. I took it as a point of honor to finish the entire armor made from copper. It honestly took way longer than I thought it would, to the point where I actually made some bellows from the reminder of the leather that I had. It helped keeping the forge hotter, which in return made my work faster.
Nice, okay.
And after several real-life hours, I finally had a full set of copper armor and a well-forged copper sword. I was finally ready to do what I was meant to do.
Okay, let's see. Is it actually... Ow.
I wanted to finally explore.
That's actually kind of crazy. Oh, there's a little skeleton there.
So I entered the canyon, immediately fought a spider, which was made easy thanks to my amazing copper sword. But I did regret not making a shield.
Oh, ooh, I just one-shot him. Holy... Really?
Delving through the canyon wasn't easy. Despite playing TFC, the enemies were plenty. And of course, at the end of the day, I did manage to somehow pick up the andesite dust.
Oh shit. I didn't die, I guess. That's amazing. I love that.
But after going deeper, I got to know the true scale of the cave I was about to explore.
Oh, well, that's a... There's a skeleton there. I'm pretty sure I am within a one-shot range with this HP. I think he heard me. I am at 61 HP.
And I also got a bit lucky.
Andesite dust. Oh my god, I almost picked it up. I would be dead. Ah, it's the... Oh, I am 29 HP. Woo! Close. Oh my god, I almost shit myself. Oh my god, I actually got scared. Well, back to square one, I guess.
After finally experiencing TFC, I was actually immensely impressed. Every system I interacted with, every item I crafted, and everything I've built felt very earned. Despite mistakes and not using my vintage story knowledge to the fullest, I still managed to have a lot of fun with TFC. And yes, it is extremely similar to vintage story, captures almost the same spirit, and is definitely worth anyone's time. Most of the stuff that I said about vintage story in my vintage story video applies also here, and despite putting about 60 hours into TFC, I do not regret a single one of them. I actually wished I played it before, playing Vintage Story, so I could have the full picture from the start. It is an extremely polished mod, and despite me not interacting with anything RegTech related, I still felt like I achieved the goals I set for myself from the start, and honestly I progressed further than I thought I would. Hope you guys enjoyed. It's a bit of a different format than I usually make. I had a lot of fun editing the video, so if you liked it, leave a comment confirming so I know, and thanks for watching.